Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you find a way to watch, listen to this podcast. It is me, Omar of Hardware. Jackson and I are recording later this week, our preview as the season winds down. But on my day off, 7 a.m., grind doesn't stop. I'm sitting with Matthew Patrick, just a huge Tulane fan, which, like, and jeez, excuse me, I haven't memorized your Twitter handle yet. But I'm sure you can say that. The link will be in the bio. Geez, horrible host, but Matthew, thank you for joining me to talk some Tulane-Army series history.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your like Tulane fandom and everything before we start a discussion?
Well, I'm a Tulane lifer through thick and thin, mostly thin, but right now it seems like these last couple of years we're really getting into the thick of things. 21 wins out of the last 24 games. I couldn't be more proud of Tulane's program right now, how far they've come. But you have to remember where we came from as well. We were one of the worst football programs in America, and I was still a big Tulane fan then. Everybody called me a madman, but I said one day, I feel like with our location and our recruiting, if we ever got a good coach, we could be good. And look at us now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And Matthew runs the Wave Must Roll page on Twitter at So How is Texas. That's the handle. My bad for forgetting that. I should have prepped that and write that down, but that will be in the bio. But I do know how it feels. Like the whole I guess because Tulane's sort of ascent is kind of like Army's was because I've been an Army fan since I was a kid. And there's some really lean years as a kid. Everyone knows about the streak from 2000 to 2015 of losing to Navy. But the heights of the Jeff Monken area has been great, really. I mean, 11-2 on 11-2 season, winning the Lambert Trophy for the first time in 60 years for the best team in the Northeast, and just other highs. So I can totally sympathize and understand the joy that you're feeling right now for Tulane.
Yeah.
So speaking of Army, though, the main topic of our discussion is Army joining the American, and I wanted to so naturally, there aren't a lot of teams in the American. There's a few teams we have history with. Tulane is one of them. So I was excited to have that series renewed. But I want to know the point of view from a Tulane fan about another service academy joining the conference and one that doesn't run the triple option, I'll say.
Well, one point of view is if you play Army and Navy back to back, you're gonna have a lot of defensive injuries. So there's that. It's a tough offense to game plan for it really because it's different. You have to be very very sound on defense, which fortunately Tulane is very sound on defense and they tackle well. But I think from a Tulane fan's perspective, we're we're just trying to beat the teams that the schedule gives us rather. But it is good to see another familiar face on the schedule, a team that we actually have history with playing, and it's a fun series as well. And we have a lot of Northeastern alumni in the New York area who travel to that game and enjoy going to see games in West Point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, something we'll discuss, I mean, pretty soon is just like the lack of opponents that Tulane has history with in that are in the American right now. But Army and Tulane have played a total of 23 times since 1953 when the series began, with Tulane holding a 13-9-1 edge. And for sure, I think Tulane has kind of morphed in the Munkin era to this team that honestly that Munkin like I wouldn't say there's a narrative behind it, but Munkin is 0-4 against Tulane right now. So I mean, that'll definitely be a storyline that kind of follows. It kind of adds a different element to this rivalry, which, excuse me, I also wanted to ask too about like the Tulane Navy rivalry, which I know there's like a couple of years where the Tulane Navy rivalry was on the final weekend of the season. Do you kind of see like I guess what were your thoughts on that kind of like the American manufacturing Navy Tulane to be a rivalry by putting it on rivalry weekend? And do you see the American doing the same with Army?
Um, you meaning putting Army and Tulane later in the season?
Yeah, like on Thanksgiving weekend.
Um, I don't think they will. Um, it doesn't seem like any of these traditional rivalries really matter anymore. It's what the TV networks want. If ESPN and Disney want Tulane and Army to be on rivalry weekend, then Tulane and Army will be on rivalry weekend. But going back to the Tulane series, I looked into this morning. Tulane is tied with Navy and Air Force in the series. Army is the only service academy we currently have a series lead over at the moment. 4-game win streak dating back to 2015.
Yeah, I mean those have been some down to the wire games too, for sure. I mean, well, most of
Oh
like
yeah,
the 2015 one was for sure. That one was a heartbreaker for me.
2017 for sure. We converted
Yeah,
the fourth down at the very end. Jonathan Banks
yeah, Jonathan
scrambled.
Banks. Yeah,
God, that game gave me a heart attack. We scored a 50-yard rushing touchdown on the first game of scrimmage. Like, all right, it's gonna be a shootout. Wound up being a defensive war. You know, you never
yeah.
know how these things are gonna play out.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember in 2020, Army was like ranked in the I think coaches poll,
Oh
and
yeah.
we gave you guys your first ranked win since '84. So I mean, definitely like a lot of great moments in the series for sure. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and but that's a good point too. I mean, about I guess Disney and ESPN, I guess really, holding like running the show. Um, but something else I wanted to ask, which I mentioned earlier, is just the fact that Tulane in the New American doesn't have. I mean, they have a few series, a few opponents they have a good series history with. Like we talked about before we went live. The series with Rice. There's original Conference USA members. I guess East Carolina and Memphis. But I mean, aside from that, there's really not much history with a lot of the teams. And of course, there's USF, who's been in the American for a while. But there's really not much serious history with a lot of teams in the conference aside from those schools and the service academy. So I guess what are your thoughts on that and just getting a team with history with that you guys have history with Army?
I think that based based on the options available, that Army was the best brand available for the American Conference. It is a team that Tulane fans and alumni can actually get excited about playing. Where we look at our schedule and it's a lot of unfortunately it's a lot of blah. It's not saying these teams are bad teams or they can't grow. I think that some of these teams give them American Conference resources. They could become good teams a few years down the road. But the ske- the schedule the schedule is really weak, and it's not very interesting. And you have a team like Army, and look, you guys, you aren't having the best season, but yet you beat ranked Air Force by 20. You beat USA in their house. That game is always going to be tough, and it's always going to be an exciting game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of Army's trademark. I mean, playing any team tough. I mean, anytime, anywhere, except for LSU this year, because that one was out of the norm. Which I mean, I can't really explain that one. I also want to ask you, as a Tulane fan, like some of your favorite moments in the Tulane Army series. Because I mean, I have a couple. You told me not to mention the 2008 game, which I'm surprised you didn't mention the 2007 game because that one was a real heartbreaker.
uh, Funny thing about the 2007 game is at the end of the game, I cried, man. I cried like a 10-year-old girl. Like that broke my heart. And I was 16 years old in 2017. But man, I went up to my mom and I was like, I can't believe Tulane lost like this. And then after that game, I started something inside of me just was like, whatever. I started to take the losses more in stride because that year was a lot of heartbreaking losses. We had, one of the best running backs in the country, but blew like every game. I just got used to it. But yeah, that's definitely not one of my favorite games. 2008 was just miserable. I'm just, I hate that there is a part of my brain that is dedicated to the memory of that game they experienced. If I could just get that part of my brain lobotomized, the 2008 Tulane Army game, getting waxed in a literal high school stadium by Army on homecoming, and I really thought Tulane was going to win that game. I really did, like because we didn't look terrible, and then the wheels just came off, and yeah, we didn't win a game after that. We lost every game, probably like by 30 points, I believe. So yeah, those two aren't my favorite memories, but I would say 2015. I think we won on like a fourth quarter field goal or something like that. That was a good memory because wins were very few and far between at that time. And when you're a team that has consistently losing like that, you really appreciate the wins when they do come. Even if it is by 1 point, by 3 points, you're just happy to win. I was ecstatic to win that game as well as 2017. I think is another good one because I saw progress. I saw that Willie Fritz was really building something in the 2017 season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 2017, that was a huge building block for sure. That was a heartbreaker. There's been a lot of heartbreakers in this series from I guess from on both sides between us because the one that comes to mind for me is the 2009 game when Army needed, I mean, that was like before the season, like Army needed 5 wins. I can remember as a kid looking at the schedule saying like there's 5 gimme wins and there's one team we need to upset, one of the Power Five teams, which we upset Vanderbilt earlier in the year, which turned out to not really be an upset because they declined after going to a bowl in 2008. But Tulane was one of the schools where, I looked at, I was like, man, we can beat Tulane. We can go to a bowl game, which was the first year of the military bowl, then the Eagle Bank Bowl at RFK. And yeah, they missed a game-winning field goal. Alex Carlton missed a game-winning field goal, and Ross Tevenow hit a game-winning field goal in the rain against Army. So that one was definitely a heartbreaker for me because as a kid, I was like, yeah, like the Army Navy game sucked, but it was like going to a bowl game, like just like wow, like seeing my Army Black Knights in a bowl game for the first time in my life, which I'd been watching Army since 2005, so about 4 years. So that one was a heartbreaker, but I mean, we got the 2 game win streak after that, so that I guess that kind of mended everything with the bowl game in between. Um, so yeah, excuse me, just like a lot of great moments in the series, and I'm just glad to be running it back with Tulane for sure. Um, but yeah, do you have anything else to add? I mean, I feel like this conversation was brief, but we got to the point too, just about just the great moments in this rivalry.
One thing I'll add, you said that you looked at the schedule and you circled the Tulane game as, I think we can win this. I think back in those days, a lot of teams did. You looked at Tulane on the schedule like, I think we can beat this team.
Yeah, no, I mean for
Was it,
sure. I did like for sure. Like those are some lean years for both of us. I'm sure you did that with Army too. Multiple times back in those days. I mean, something I do want to add is like I know you as a Tulane fan don't miss these days, but I kind of wish that Army played or I guess Tulane played in the Superdome like still like because so I
you
could
know,
say
some
yeah.
sometimes I do. Sometimes I do miss the dome a little bit. We're getting those 11 a.m. September kickoffs. It's like 110 degrees. I kind of miss being in a climate controlled environment.
Yeah, like so I can just see like the Army Black Knights play at the Superdome. But Yeoman is a great venue for sure too. I went a
Oh yeah,
couple. I went in
it's a great color.
2022. Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Like I went in 2022 for the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Just a great venue. Nice and close to the action. So for sure, just a great place to play still. But I mean, still kind of long to see Army play in the Superdome. But yeah, with that, I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything else, Matthew?
One thing I think that you missed is that ironically, you're talking about the good teams and the bad teams. 2002 Army, I forgot. I think y'all might have been like 2-10 or something, or I don't know, 3-9, something like that. And you beat Tulane, a bowl team that was loaded with NFL talent. Mwelde Moore and J.P. Losman. You know that you had the. I think you said you started following in 2005, but that had to be a pretty big upset. You know?
Yeah, like I'm well aware of the like the history before I became a fan, and yeah, that 2002 team I think was 1-11. They had lost to Holy Cross earlier that year, so they were on the way to being winless. But yeah, the 2002 to 2003 stretch was not a great one because we went 0-13, of course, 2003. So that you're looking at a 1-24 record in those 25 games. We don't really talk about the Todd Berry era back in those days, but yeah, like we did upset you
Yeah,
guys. We did upset you guys in 2002, and then in 2003 for sure. Like even though we lost that game, we're still competitive against you guys. Losing 50 or sorry, losing 50 to 33. So like you said, like I mean, this is I don't want to say the cliche throughout the record books, but there have been some surprising
Yeah.
results in this series.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you play college football, especially a team like Army that has a unique offense, I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess less unique now with the cut blocking rules, but still unique in its own right. We're still
Yeah,
producing the classic triple option passing lines, like especially these passing games. Like we had 4 completions and 70 yards against Air Force, and then this week I think we had like 45 yards and 4 completions or something like that against Holy Cross. So still producing those funny stat lines. So I mean, I guess that's a consolation.
yeah. I mean, the offense is evolving.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I'm sure you guys went through those growing pains too in the first couple of years of Willie Fritz, because I remember you guys were very run heavy in the
Oh
first
yeah,
couple of years of Willie Fritz.
oh yeah, because we didn't really have a quarterback. We had to be, and then Justin McMillan, he was an okay passer, but then when we got Michael Pratt, it completely opened the doors for us to be a wide open passing attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that definitely was a turning point. I guess in terms of the attack. But yeah, that's all I have to add. Do you want to promote anything, Matthew? Do you want to? All right. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm excited for Army to join the American. Excited to encounter Tulane once again, an old time tested rival since the 50s. And until next, everyone, I hope you encounter this podcast. Peace, love, and soul.
Peace.